In today's episode, we're going to talk about a film that everybody should know. It's Friday the 13th, 1980. A 1 hour and 35 minute horror mystery released May 9th, 1980. Storyline: a group of camp counselors trying to reopen a summer camp called, that's right, Crystal Lake, which has a grim past, are stalked by a mysterious killer. Directed by Sean S. Cunningham, written by Victor Miller and Ron Kurz. Here's the cast. The late, great Betsy Palmer as Mrs. Voorhees. Adrienne King as Alice. Jeannie Taylor as Marcy. Robbie Morgan as Annie. Kevin Bacon, that's right, Kevin Bacon as Jack. Harry Crosby as Bill. Laura Bartram as Brenda. Mark Nelson as Ned. And the cast goes on. Excuse me. Here is a movie that I can remember as a kid. I was 11, going on 12, and I remember the commercials on TV. Now, there wasn't trailers like it. There was, but we couldn't see them. So I meant to say I can remember the TV commercial advertisement for this movie in the theaters. And I can always remember the scene in the barn with the two kids. And obviously, I was not allowed to go see it because I was too young. And my mom would definitely not let me even see the commercial. That's how young I was. That's one of my early memories of this movie. So, of course, you forget about it, I guess. 7 years later, VHS comes out. And guess what the first movie I wanted to see? Friday the 13th. So I rented a VHS tape. That's right, Blockbuster VHS. And I watched this, and I was blown away. Because even, you would think, 1985, I might have seen it for the first time. That's 5 years after it was released. Because I was 17 or 16 or however it was, or 15, however I was when I seen it finally. And I fucking love this movie. I mean, even today watching it, it's an iconic movie that will never be forgotten. I mean, I can remember Kevin Bacon on the bed, and all of a sudden something comes up under the bed and stabs him in the throat. I can remember, stuff like bow and arrows and range and a mysterious killer going around killing these camp counselors. Then you realize who the killer was. I mean, my God, this movie was so much ahead of its time, I would think, for a slasher, especially a female slasher, killing these kids because of them not taking care of her son Jason. Great fucking movie. I love watching this movie every chance I get, at least once a year. Either around Halloween time, or if I'm in the mood to watch a classic, cheesy, early 80s, borderline 1979 horror film. The birth of Jason. When we go to part 2, which I'll review that down the road as well, Jason isn't Jason quite yet. So, as you know, at the end of the movie, Annie battles Mrs. Voorhees. And I can remember, not Annie, I meant Alice, fights Mrs. Voorhees. And I can remember her head flying off. A great scene for a low-budget gem, even back then. It was ahead of its time, in my opinion. And then, of course, who's watching all this. It's badass because Jason isn't Jason yet. Is Jason dead or is Jason alive? Your mind's going back and forth. So if you haven't seen Friday the 13th, 1980, you youngins, if you're into horror, I'm pretty sure you've seen it. If you're not into horror, I think you should watch it. You get a good taste of an old-fashioned slasher movie based on Jason and Jason's mother. So that being said, this movie still holds up today. It's one of my all-time favorites. It'll never die in my book. Again, I will slowly review the whole franchise. I already done some already. But stay tuned for part 2 and 3. They'll be coming up soon. So Friday the 13th, 1980. What more can I say? That being said, this is Gruesome Hertzogg. I give this a 9 out of 10. It's one of my very favorites of the 80s horror movies. And a great start of a phenomenal franchise that was not expected to go as long as it has. Trust me, he made his film for pennies and didn't think nothing of it. Betsy Palmer, I can remember in an interview she said that when she was in this movie, she went, oh God, what a piece of crap. Because back then, but she found out real quick down the road, years later, that she would go to festivals for the Friday the 13th before she passed away, how much this movie is loved and how iconic it is. That being said, this is Gruesome Hertzogg. I am out of here.